Hello, welcome to Medicine for the Soul Yoga. My name is Kat and this is part 20 of our Journey to Crow series. So today we're going to start practicing our crow pose with some transitions. So working out ways that we can incorporate crow pose into our flow for when you practice. And today we're going to be focusing on crow pose and jumping back into plank. So if you're not that comfortable with your crow pose yet, I would recommend going back over some of the previous classes and really getting strong in your crow pose. If you feel quite strong in your crow pose, then feel free to give this one a go, and I hope you enjoy. So we're going to start today's class seated with the legs crossed, really grounding yourself down. You can move the seat bones apart. A big part of practicing crow pose and difficult transitions is your mindset. So we'll focus on our mindset for a little moment. And we can bring the palms facing up, close down the eyes, relax the shoulders, feel any tension melting away from the body. And begin to turn your attention inwards. How is your breath? You subconsciously holding in, sucking in your tummy, and therefore the breath is up in the chest. Can we possibly encourage the breath to come further down into the tummy, almost feeling the tummy inflating like a balloon with every inhale, a full expression of the breath that tells our body we're in rest and digest nervous system. And this is where we can really be present and focus and have the best chance of performing well. So really keeping an eye on the quality of your breath through this practice will definitely help. Big breaths in and out through the nose. And I just want you to picture your progress in physical yoga. So yoga is a lot more than what we can do with our bodies, but just for today's practice we will be focusing on the physical aspect of yoga. And imagine maybe the first class you took or the first time you tried crow pose. And just take a moment to recognize how far you have come. And very often we're looking forward to the next goal, to the next achievement, and we don't take the time to take a second and evaluate how far we've already come. You're probably at the point now that you were only dreaming of being at before, and you've got there. So just take a moment to be proud of yourself, give yourself a pat on the back, and know that it is possible with the right attitude and practice. And that's true for any future goals that you have as well. So maybe today's class might seem a bit challenging, but just know that you can get there as you have done already. Good, and we'll gently open the eyes. We're going to warm up the wrists quite a lot today because we're going to be using them a lot in our transitions. So we're going to interlace the fingers and roll the wrists around. Good. Just notice which thumb comes in front when you place your fists together, and we'll switch it around. So bring the other thumb in front and feel how that might feel a bit strange. Good. Keeping the fingers in this position, we're going to push the palms away. So really feel that lovely stretch of the fingers, and we can push each hand away to really stretch out the fingers and the underside of the wrist. Keep focusing on the breath. Good. And then we'll bring the hands facing away from us and round off the back as we draw the chin in and push the hands away. Take a big breath here and exhale. We're going to bring, keeping both hands on the level of the eyes, we're going to draw the hands over to the right. You can almost feel as if you're moving the right hand and the left hand is drawing over with it, straightening and lengthening into that left shoulder. So maybe the left arm is straight here. Gently come back to center and we'll go to the other side. So keep the right arm straight if you can. can bend the left elbow. Try to keep the torso facing the front. Chin drawing down. Good. Arms back to center. And then we'll release the hands. Flick out the wrists. Good. So we're going to come to tabletop. So we're going to gently move forward and back to start with, again, really gripping the mat. And this is going to really help us in our transitions as we manipulate the weight in the hands. We really need to feel into where the weight is. So it might be in the fingertips. We can push down on the fingertips and draw ourselves slightly back. It might be in the back of the hands and we can kind of draw ourselves forward. Again, side to side is the same. So really getting to grips with feeling your weight in the hands. Good. And we're going to flip the hands and place the fingers facing each other with the palms facing up. Lean back slightly on the thighs so that not so much weight is in the arms, and the middle fingers can be pointing each other. And we can very gently begin to bring our weight forward so the shoulders are over the wrists. Hopefully this doesn't hurt your wrists. If it does, bring it back. Breathing deeply here. Maybe experimenting with slightly straightening the arms, feeling that intensify the stretch. Good. And then we're going to roll the hands up. And then have the hands in a kind of fist with both fingers on the mat like this. Good. And again, we'll go forward and back slightly. Side to side slightly. Good. And then we'll bring the hands with the palms facing up and the fingers pointing back. Again, bending the arms and leaning back slightly to take the pressure off. And maybe beginning to straighten the arms and bring the weight forward. And then we're going to sit back on the heels and peel the hands off the mat, keeping the fingers on the mat for as long as you can. Very gently rolling back. Good. Rolling the shoulders, sitting on the shins. We're going to place the left hand on the top of the right fingers and push the heel of the hand away. So a counter stretch to what we just practiced. And then we can flip the hand upside down and do the same. Really should feel that shooting up the inside of the arm. Good. And then we'll do the same with the left hand. Fingers facing up to start with. And then underside of the hand. Push the heel of the hand away. Good. Shake out the wrists. So you might be able to feel a little bit of something here. That's okay. We can flick the fingers out. All of these exercises are building muscles in the hands that we need for our crow pose. So it's good if you can feel it. Just don't want any sharp pains. That's when you take it back a level. Good. So we'll bring the hands down and we're going to come straight to downward facing dog. Roll the shoulders away from the ears and begin to pedal out the heels. Big deep breath through the nose. Begin to bring it into the hips. So as you bring up one heel, let the hips swing over to that side and then over to the other side. So we're swaying the hips side to side. Breathing so deeply through the nose. Good. Finding stillness in the center. Bending into the legs, lifting the heels up. Draw the chest towards the thighs, the tailbone lifts up. Keeping the tailbone and the chest here, we'll gently draw the heels down. So we're really feeling that lengthening of the hamstrings and into the chest and the shoulders as well. Big deep breath through the nose. Really good. We're going to walk the hands back towards the feet. Place the hands on the shins. Inhale, come up halfway. Engaging the core here. Option to bring the hands behind you. Option a bit harder for the core. Bring the arms in front of you. Really squeezing the belly button into the spine. Keep breathing. Good. Exhale, bend the legs and forward fold. Chest resting on the thighs. Bring each hand to the opposite elbow and gently sway side to side. Good. And then staying in our forward fold, we're going to interlace the hands behind the back. Straighten the arms and lengthen the hands over the head. Big deep breaths through the nose. Really good. And then we'll bring the hands down towards the feet and gently bring the hands forward, coming back to our downward facing dog. Big inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Let it all out. Good. As we inhale, we'll look forward, coming into our plank pose. Might need to move the feet slightly back to give yourself space. Make sure the shoulders are over the wrists, fingers are spread. Exhale, drop the knees, chest and chin comes down, elbows hug in. Inhale, roll into our back bend. And then exhale back to downward facing dog. And we'll travel there again. Inhale, rolling forward to plank. Exhale, option to drop the knees or come down to half plank, chaturanga. Inhale into our upward dog or back bend, cobra. And exhale back to downward facing dog. Good. So just flowing with the breath, working with more fluid movements to prepare ourselves for today. We're going to do that again. Inhale, roll forward into plank. Exhale, lower down. Use the knees if you need to. Inhale into our back bend. And exhale, downward facing dog. We're taking that vinyasa. The vinyasa is the sequence of movements. Inhale, come forward one more time. Exhale, come down. Inhale, come up. And exhale, back to downward dog. So that's our vinyasa. Good. Bring the knees out wide. Bring the toes together and sink the hips back to the heels. We'll just rest for a moment in wide leg child's pose. Wiggle the hips side to side. Relax the shoulders. Relax the face. Good, and then we'll gently lift the head, walk the hands back. We're going to tuck the toes, bring the feet out slightly wider so the toes are facing away from each other, and then sink the heels down as we walk the hands back. Coming into our low yogi squat at the back of the mat, making it quite a fluid one. You can move the feet apart if you need a bit more space. And breathe deeply through the nose, sinking the hips down, the chest up. Bring the elbows and push the knees apart. Draw the shoulder blades down the back and have the hands pressing together. Big deep breath through the nose. Really allowing the hips to sink down. And then we'll release the hands, walk the hands back. Keeping onto the toes, we're going to come straight into plank. So keeping on the feet and then bring the feet in, finding our plank pose. And notice here if we're collapsing at all in the shoulders and kind of letting ourselves dip a little bit like this. Really push out of the hands. We almost feel like we're rounding the top of the shoulders off. So really, really strong shoulders. That's what's really going to help us in crow pose as we shoot the legs back. We want to lift the kneecaps up and draw the heels back, and the shoulders are over the wrists. So we're really engaging the core here, squeezing the belly button into the spine, keeping breathing, engaging the glutes and the legs. Maybe we start shaking a little bit, that's fine. Good, one more big inhale and exhale, gently push back to downward facing dog. Big inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Push the chest towards the thighs. Really good. Walking the hands back towards the feet. Inhale, come up halfway. Option to stay here. Option to bring the arms behind you. Or option to reach the hands in front of you. Aiming to almost push the hands up, framing the ears. Really works into the shoulders and the core. One more big inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Bend into the legs. This time we're going to inhale, roll up the spine, keep the arms super heavy. Big inhale as we get to the top. Good. Take a few rolls of the shoulders here. Good, and then gently opening the eyes. So we're going to make our way to the front of the mat. We're going to heel toe the feet together, standing on our toes, so just bringing our awareness to our balance before we practice our crow pose. Bringing the arms up if you can. Focus on one spot that's not moving. Option to just tiptoe forward with the toes, or option to close the eyes and try it. Definitely a lot harder with the eyes closed. Give it a go if you would like a challenge. Ooh. Or maybe just one eye closed could be a good option as well. Reaching the front of the mat and exhale, bring the heels down. Good. Really great way to build up some balance there. And we'll just let the body sway side to side. Perfect. So we're going to take a little step back and come into our crow pose. So coming in again to our low yogi squat, release out the hips. Maybe give the wrists a little shake. And we'll set ourselves up for crow pose. If you need a cushion or a pillow in front of the face, please go get that now. It can help with confidence as well, especially when thinking about transitioning. So we're going to come into crow pose to start with. I like to lift up the hips and come from the hips more upright rather than bringing them down. I think it helps to have the knees in a higher place and positioning on the arms. We're going to roll the elbows to the outsides so that when we bend the arms, the elbows point directly back. Lift up the heels, placing the knees and resting them on the tops of the legs. Coming onto our big toes and find your crow pose. Hopefully we can lift up both of the feet and maybe even bring the toes together, focusing on the breath. So what we're going to practice today is hopping back from here to plank. It is a difficult one, so please take it slowly and don't be upset if it doesn't happen for you, because it really does require building a lot of strength. But practice is gonna be what makes it happen. So we got to start somewhere, and don't be afraid either. So we're not very high off the ground. So I'll show you what it will look like. Squeezing the core, shooting the legs back, coming into chaturanga, and inhale, coming into our upward dog, and exhale. So we're taking that part of the vinyasa back to downward dog. So that's what we're going to be working on over the next few classes. And to get there, we're going to be really building up strength specifically in our chaturanga, so our low plank. So we're going to be practicing quite a lot of vinyasas. To start with, you can use the knees, but we're going to aim to get it without the knees. So chaturanga low plank without the knees is what we're aiming for. So we're going to come back to crow pose. If you want to have a go at shooting the legs back, please go ahead. Don't worry if you fall down with the face, you can have a cushion here. Don't worry if your legs don't make it all the way back or you come onto your knees. Just give it a go and see what happens, if you would like. If you're not feeling quite confident enough yet, then just stay in your crow pose. We can build strength there, and then we'll do a little exercise for chaturanga afterwards, and we'll continue doing this in the next few classes to build up the strength and confidence. So we're going to come into our crow pose again. Option to just stay in your crow pose, that's absolutely fine. We really want to be squeezing the elbows in, and notice how that allows us to lift the feet up. Lifting the feet up is going to really help us when we shoot the legs back. If the feet are down here, it doesn't really give us much space to allow the legs to come back. So we want to try and tuck the toes up. And we're really gripping with the fingers. So actually the knuckles of my hands are not on the mat. It's all just my fingers. And then we're going to shoot back if you would like to, otherwise just come down. Shoot back to chaturanga, and then push up to our upward dog and back to downward facing dog. Really good. Don't worry if you didn't shoot back with the legs. We're all just going to meet on the shins. There's absolutely no rush. And there's no expectation at all to do that. Just showing you what we're going to be working on. Release out the wrists if you feel you need to. And before we finish, we're just going to go over a vinyasa again so that you can begin to get that feeling of what we're shooting back into. So chaturanga is low plank, and it's part of what a vinyasa is. A vinyasa is that sequence of poses that we do. So we're going to come into plank to begin with. And an option is bringing the knees down. When you bring the knees down, you've got to bring the hips down as well. So we don't want to just bring the knees down and kind of end up in tabletop. We need to bring the knees down and end up in low plank, but supported version. So where upper body is still in a plank, the shoulders, hips and knees are in one long line. So when we come down, the elbows hug in and the shoulders, hips and knees all come down and are still in a plank. And then inhale, we come up, and then exhale, we come back to downward dog. So that's your vinyasa with the knees down. If you would like to try without the knees down, really great way to build up strength. It's the same. Everything is engaged. Elbows draw back. As we come down halfway, the arms are kind of at a right angle. We're in a plank still. And then inhale, we simply straighten the arms and dip the hips down. Bring the feet onto their tops and exhale back to downward dog. You can kind of roll back on the toes as well. So if you look at my toes, they're like this. And then place the feet on the mat. So that's what taking a vinyasa is. It really involves a lot of strength in the arms and the core. So it's a great one to practice. And it's in a lot of yoga as well. A lot of vinyasa yoga especially uses vinyasas to sequence to when we practice something on the right side, we'll then take a vinyasa in the middle to kind of reset ourselves and then do the same on the left side. So it's a sequencing tool that we use. And yeah, to know how to do a vinyasa properly is a really great thing and really amazing way of building strength as well. So we'll be practicing that over the next few classes. So we're just going to take a little nice stretch now. Have the hips over the knees. Walk the hands forward and melt the chest down into puppy pose. We can maybe rest the forehead on the mat. We want to find length in the spine. Maybe crawling the fingers slightly forward to really lengthen the arms and the shoulders. Close the eyes. Bring your awareness to the breath, landing into the tummy. And then we'll gently bring the forehead up and walk the hands back to the shins. Rolling the shoulders. If the shins isn't comfortable, you can sit cross-legged. We're going to take a nice stretch for the arms. So I'll just turn around so that you can see. We're going to bring the right arm up and bend the hand to place it in between the shoulder blades. Left arm around, maybe holding your clothing, maybe your fingertips can find each other. If you have a strap to hand, you could use the strap as well and kind of walk the hands down the strap towards each other. If the fingers can find each other, get that bind and really draw the hands together so we feel this lovely stretch in both arms, both triceps and biceps. Focus on the breath wherever you are. Check in if you're arching the back and we can just gently tuck the pelvis in. Big deep breaths here. Good, and then we're going to unwrap the arms and we're going to hug ourselves with the left arm on top. So wrapping the arms around ourselves, draw the hands behind the back and maybe gently wiggling side to side. Good. And then we'll lift the left arm up, place the left hand between the shoulder blades, right hand comes behind. Good. Really pulling the hands together, lengthening into the arms. It's a really great stretch. Focus on the breath. Good, and then we'll release the arms and bring the right arm over the left. And then placing the fingertips behind the shoulders, drawing ourselves forward and just gently wiggling side to side. And then release. Give the wrist a nice shake. Maybe a little release here, how we did earlier. Just move in any way that feels good for your wrists. Building strength in them, so you might be able to feel them, that's fine. Good, and then we will bring the hips down and the feet forward. Shuffle yourself forward so you've got room. And we'll just bring the arms over the legs, left hand on right wrist, and lean back into the legs. Draw the chin into the chest and feel that lovely release across the top of the shoulders, really letting the chin draw right down to the chest, maybe even rolling the forehead side to side. Big deep breath through the nose. Good, and then we will release the arms, switch on the core and roll really slowly down the back. Place the head on the mat and the hands on the area just below the tummy button and feel the shoulders just release. Good. Walk the feet closer to the body. We'll let both knees fall to the right and look over the left shoulder, palm facing up. Nice release in the chest and the shoulders here. Gently come up to center, big inhale, and exhale over to the left, right palm facing up, look over the right shoulder. And then gently come up to center and lengthening both legs out long now. And just committing to stillness here in our Shavasana. And feeling the breath landing in the tummy. Feeling out all the tension from the body melting away and just taking a moment again to be so proud of yourself for committing to your practice and getting stronger and more confident each time. And lying here for as long as you feel that you need to today in stillness and peace. Thank you very much for joining me today.